Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here today. Today, we're going to change topics and talk about something that has actually not been mainstream media, as far as I know. This has to do with an Iraqi immigrant named Hadeel Hikmat, who was found dead at Lake Jordan August 29th, which is actually not too far away from where I have been working. So let's bring this to screen. Thank you guys for being here. ABC 11 is the local news channel that has been covering the case pretty well, but even that channel has not had any sort of updates for several days now. So there have been no arrests. Still a mystery, no suspects, but it does seem like her husband is very likely someone who is being suspected of having something to do with the homicide. So let's take a look here. You can see up here a photograph of the husband's parents' house, which is in Raleigh. And I have to say that actually, when I first heard about this woman being found in Lake Jordan, it just seemed kind of scary. It wasn't until I saw the names associated with the case that I really took an interest in it, because I actually happen to know one of the family members from a long time ago, although it has been many years since I was last in touch with this person. So there's a picture of the family's main house up in Raleigh. Victim's mother-in-law is a dentist in Raleigh who has been pretty well known, I think, in the community, just supporting Iraqi artists and being a community leader in the dental associations. So this basically talks about the two homes that are connected to the victim have been searched by the sheriff's office, executing search warrants. The two of them lived in a townhome in Apex, which was purchased by the husband's parents back in 2015. There's a picture of her, of Hadeel. Okay. Hey guys, thank you, Helen. Thanks for being here, and thanks for always being so supportive. 5 Yeah, so totally different case here, but it does make you wonder, why does this keep happening? You keep hearing news over and over again where people are being murdered, and most likely, or later it's found out that it was the person's spouse or former spouse or former boyfriend or girlfriend who committed the crime. So just thought that I would cover something different instead of the Dan Markel case all the time. Got my water here. Okay, so this woman, she is 34 years old, and it does look like there was a history of domestic strife. Just looking through her husband, Omar's Facebook, which is still public, actually. I'll show it to you later because he put it out there for everyone to see. But it looks like they met in either Turkey or Iraq back around, say, like 2014, 2015. Before then he starts putting pictures of her up on his Facebook. And they must have gotten married probably like 3 or 4 years ago, but it's kind of unclear what happened. Maybe they just had some sort of long distance type of marriage, and she didn't move here until sometime last year. Okay. Seems like there's always a dentist. Yeah, isn't that interesting? So when I knew of this family a long time ago, I didn't know the whole family, but it just seemed like they were your typical family where the mother might have been an immigrant, I think from Iraq or Turkey, and she was a dentist. She worked hard. The husband had some sort of job, maybe as a producer for a TV station, I think. And they had, I think, 4 children altogether. And one of the children is actually looks like a very successful dentist herself. And there's another son I saw online who had been arrested last year for assault. So not sure what he's doing. But with Hadeel's husband, Omar, let's show him on the screen here. Okay, since again, this is publicly available information here. Yeah, it looks like he graduated from UNC Greensboro, probably couldn't find some sort of great white-collar type of job, so he worked at Home Depot in the lawn care division. It says lot associate and indoor lawn and garden associate at Home Depot. Then looks like he kind of got tired of all the physical labor. So there's some post here on his Facebook where he says, it was fun. It was just too much physical labor. It was hard on his body. So he was going to try to work just part-time. And he got some sort of correspondence master's degree from Grand Canyon University, which he was very proud of. You can see it in one of his photos where he got his master's degree in, communication with emphasis in education. So he got this graduate degree, 2021, and he said he wanted to become a substitute teacher or maybe work at the library part-time while also working at Home Depot. So I've seen in some articles that, what did they say? They said that she was the one that was actually kind of supporting him after a while because she ended up coming here from Iraq last year and had two jobs. One of the jobs was working at Walmart, which again is kind of part of the immigrant struggle because she had a degree, I think, in chemical engineering, but yet she wound up working at Walmart here to help support the two of them. So who knows if he's still working at Home Depot or what. Not sure if he really got any jobs being a substitute teacher with his master's degree. So that's a picture of them before she came over to the US. Yeah, I think ultimately that is what her brother would say, because her brother, he actually speaks English really well. And he's posted a lot of stuff on Facebook. He also spoke with ABC 11 and said that from his sister's point of view, their marriage had quickly gone south. They were fighting all the time. And this is a guy who would basically be showing pictures of himself looking like he's a wrestler or holding up these like WWF type belts. And, it seems like a guy that really prided himself on being big and tough and, worked out all the time because he had a physical job. So, yeah. Okay, retail is hard work, especially customer service. Yeah, it is a really tough job, so you can fault Omar for wanting to get a master's degree and hoping to become a teacher or work somewhere else where it would be less physically exhausting. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, let me get something to drink again. I have these 2 cups of water here this time. Okay, so let's take a look here. That's a picture of them from 2020. And there's a nice picture of them back in 2018 when they were in Turkey together. And just based on his Facebook posts, obviously you can't really get to know people through whatever they choose to selectively share on Facebook, but he sounded like some sort of happy-go-lucky type of normal young guy who's always wishing people well, saying happy 4th of July, happy Valentine's Day, Merry Christmas, happy Diwali, just enjoying life. Although I did think that it was kind of funny here where a while back he was warning people about putting stuff on Facebook. He says, everyone else is doing it. Don't forget tomorrow starts a new Facebook rule where they can use your photos. It can be used in court cases, in litigation against you. everything you've ever posted becomes public from today, even messages that have been deleted or the photos not allowed. Okay, so isn't that funny that I'm pretty sure he probably is a suspect in his wife's murder, but that has not been publicly stated so far. But he's talking about how you got to be careful what you post on social media. But here it just basically looks like he was in love with his wife. He was proud of her. He posted pictures of the two of them together. And then when he said Happy 4th of July, his brother-in-law, Hadeel Hikmat, also wished him Happy 4th of July. So if you click on the victim's brother's Facebook page, this is where he starts giving a lot more details. And it seems like he really does suspect the husband, Omar, of having something to do with his sister's death. Okay, so he's posting the same thing from ABC 11 News. He says, until the truth becomes true, don't worry, sis. Everything is going to be okay. R.I.P. my sister. God Law Media, right people supporting your case. You are a victim. Okay, so there's him on the screen. He also seems like he's pretty articulate and very well educated. So this is where the brother gave a lot more details about his sister and his sister's marriage. So talking about how they basically had no sexual relationship, and his brother-in-law had a lot of health problems and didn't want to talk about it, didn't want to give or go see the doctor, didn't want to have kids. So the brother wrote, my sister's secret life that authorities and media do not know about, no secrets anymore. He doesn't want kids, she told me about her husband, Omar Drabick. What's the problem? I asked. By unpacking her problems to her closest friend and brother, me, I understood what had happened. Okay, so just talking about how the mother-in-law was trying to get them to have kids, but either the husband couldn't have kids or didn't want to have kids, didn't want the responsibility. Husband wouldn't go to see specialists with his wife, didn't want to pay the medical costs. My sister, with a little help from his mom, paid all costs. She was sad, Hadeel, depressed. I always gave her hope for life, hope for having kids. But don't make pressure on him, I said to her. I know it's a sensitive matter for men who suffer and live undisciplined lives. He began to avoid her sometimes when they intended to go to the specialist. Okay, so so he basically talks about his sister as being a loyal, dedicated wife who loved her husband and family. And they would talk a lot, even to the point where the husband would get mad and say that she shouldn't be so close to her family anymore because she's not in Iraq. So there's a picture of them, the husband and wife. Okay, so looks like the brother is definitely posting a lot on his Facebook and saying that he's not going to let this go. In fact, he was actually the one who reported her first missing because he was used to talking to her basically every day. And suddenly he stopped hearing from her about maybe August 28th or 27th, sometime around then. And so he was the one from Turkey who contacted the police. So I think it's kind of interesting that from these accounts, it looks like the husband did not report her missing. So I wonder what kind of story he told his own family members. Probably, I'm just guessing, probably said that she just left him or she was mad after they had a fight, so she just left him to cool down. So you can take a look here. If you happen to have a Facebook account, that's the brother of the victim. Okay, yeah. Okay, so Helen is saying, yikes. Hi, Lucy. Thanks for being there. Hope justice comes soon for Dan Markell. Took a very long time. Yeah. I think in this case, though, it seems more clear cut, I think. I mean, once again, you don't want to jump to conclusions, but here it seems like just based on the reporting, who had the motive, who had the opportunity, there were plenty of documented marital problems already right before this lady went missing. Yeah, definitely very sketchy. Live in the Bay Area. There's a large Iraqi population that has settled here. They're like educated, or they are educated and hardworking immigrants. There are certain Iraqi men that treat women like objects. Yeah, but with Omar, as far as I know, he was born and raised here in North Carolina. So I do feel like, having handled tons and tons of family law and divorce cases for decades here, it's kind of like a recurring pattern where you see these men who are born and raised in the US, they're Americans, but yet some of them, they think that women from other countries or women from more impoverished countries are going to be a lot more docile and listen to them and are more traditional in terms of values. So they want to go overseas and find somebody, since they either can't get an American woman to date them, or maybe they just think that American women are too, liberated or strident or something. So they go there. This is a generalization, of course, that they think they're going to get some sort of person they can boss around and act like they're the big boss in the family, and this woman's going to be financially and culturally dependent on them, listen to them and stuff. So, I mean, I'm just wondering, maybe that was Omar's attitude, that he thought maybe he could get some sort of traditional woman from Iraq or the Middle East who would listen to him and put up with him more than some homegrown American woman would. So then he brought her over. She probably didn't realize, what kind of person he really was, because it sounded like they had a totally long distance relationship for years before she came over here just last fall, I think. So it just seems really sad that she had been educated to be an engineer and came over here, had to work at Walmart and deal with all these problems with her new husband. So, okay. Got some paperwork? Okay. Yeah, let us know what kind of paperwork you have. Yeah. So let's take a look here. I'm going to took that off the screen. This is just to add some flavor to the reporting that shows where their townhome was, where the two of them had lived. So it turned out that Lake Jordan is really close to where this is. So it's probably, I would say, like a 15-minute drive, depending on what part she was taken to. And yeah, I mean, it's just really sad. It definitely hits close to home, because I had an office that was really close to where they lived and sort of knew somebody in the family many years ago. And this is where they lived. And of course, we still don't know exactly what happened, what was the manner of death, because that's not being reported in the media. So it basically just says that the Chatham County Sheriff's Office is still actively investigating this. So if by any chance anybody out there is watching from North Carolina, if you happen to know anything about these people, the victim, or happen to have been around Lake Jordan around August 27th, 28th, 29th, then definitely please do contact the sheriff's office. Yeah. So it's, let's see, 952-2811. Okay. 2811. Okay. I should have had this running as a banner ad, but I'll just put it up on the screen real fast. Chatham County Sheriff, 919-952-2811. Oh, 542. 542. 542. 542 2811 is the Chatham County Sheriff's Office. Okay, great. So this is a very short live stream. I don't have tons of information. It just kind of pulled at my heart to hear about what happened to Hadeel Hikmat, this poor woman who just showed up in North Carolina as an immigrant last year. I don't think she was even here for a whole year before she met her demise. And it was actually a boater at Lake Jordan who found her and quickly called the authorities. Okay, there's the phone number up there. Let's take that off the screen. Okay. So I think it's great that her brother, he seems so fluent, so good at English. So he's been using his skills and trying to get the word out about his sister, trying to make sure that it doesn't get shuffled away, because it already seems like in the mainstream media, people are focused on so many other news that are going on all the time. There's that whole marital case where, people are accusing the clerk of messing with the jury and improperly influencing the jury. And then in the Markel case, you got Sigfredo Garcia filing a motion for post-conviction relief. There's still all the cases with Darrell Brooks, Sarah Boone. These cases make national headline, but in Hadeel Hikmat's case, it seems like there's no national uproar, no national attention, and even locally, there hasn't been that much info about it. So, okay, so if you do have Facebook, feel free to look at Omar Drabick's Facebook page. He's the husband of the victim, and then Firas Hikmat is the victim's brother. So I haven't even looked at every single thing that he's posted on Facebook yet, but he's definitely posting constantly about the case. Okay, most of the time when a spouse doesn't report their better half missing, that's a big red flag. Yeah, exactly. I mean, days went by. This first, it was just a mysterious woman report where they had a sketch of who they thought the victim looked like or what they thought the victim looked like. So the sketch was up in the local news saying that this person was found in Lake Jordan. We don't know who she is. They thought maybe she was Middle Eastern or Hispanic descent. And even then, it doesn't seem like the husband or the husband's family reported her or contacted authorities to say, hey, wait a second, that's my wife, or that's my daughter-in-law, or that's my sister-in-law. It doesn't seem like that. I mean, based on what reporting I've seen. So it wasn't until her brother raised a stink, contacting the police and saying, hey, I haven't heard from my sister in days. She must be missing. It sounded like he couldn't even reach her husband or maybe other members of the family. So I do think that's definitely a red flag. So, I mean, I'm trying to pick my words carefully here, though, because he hasn't been arrested and the authorities haven't come straight out to say, oh, this is somebody who's a person of interest or a suspect or whatever. I'm sure they are working behind the scenes very quickly and carefully before they make any sort of arrest. So the news article that I put up there from ABC 11 said that when they executed the search warrants at both houses that were associated with the husband, that they took a vehicle, they took bags of evidence. They also seized one of the sister-in-law's cell phones and the father-in-law's computer. So, they're probably doing a big forensic search now, trying to see if there were any sort of messages between the victim's husband and his family members. Were they involved potentially with helping to cover up the crime or dispose of any murder weapons or things that could have been used to transport her? I'm just throwing out ideas. We don't know what really happened at this point. So hopefully the rest of the extended family really had nothing to do with it. So, but of course, their attorney is basically saying, well, we're leaving it up to the authorities now. They're all suffering. They're very sad. So they're talking through the family's attorney. My name is based on Donna's conversation with Charlie. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thanks. I didn't get it right away. Okay, I got some paperwork. Yeah, definitely. That's a good quote where Donna is trying to be very very mysterious, right? Sort of speaking in code, but just saying enough stupid things that it makes it pretty obvious to me that she was involved and she knew exactly what that undercover guy was talking to her about. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we're getting it now. Thank you so much for explaining that. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. So, okay. Well, just thought that it would be good to cover Hadeel's case here. She is the victim in this mysterious homicide situation here that is very close to where I worked. And I just hope that the truth will come out about what really happened to her. And people who are interested, it looks like her brother, Faraz Hikmat, has a ton of information about what was going on with their relationship. And it's all in English on his Facebook page here. Yeah. Okay. So if there are no other comments here, maybe this will be a pretty short live stream. It's not going to be like almost 2 hours like the last one was about the Markel case. Donna isn't a good undercover agent. She spilled beans. Yeah. I mean, isn't it weird how like Donna, as well as I think even Katie did this, like when they're talking on the phone with Charlie, clearly about Dan's murder, they just kind of lowered their voice a little bit, as if that's going to keep any sort of undercover agents or FBI agents from hearing what they say. I mean, it's just kind of funny that way. I mean, you're either being recorded or you're not. So just lowering your voice and starting to say quizzical things like Katie claiming to Sigfredo that the kids' clothes were going to cost whatever it was, like $65.47, when really those were the last 4 digits of the phone number she wanted him to call. So it's just even funnier when they think that talking in code is going to help them cover things up. Yeah. Hope now another victim for complete justice. Yeah, that's right. So Hadeel deserves to have some more publicity towards this case too. And, it's always sad when you hear about certain cases getting little to no coverage, whereas certain other cases seem to be nationally in the news every other day, or constant stream of YouTube videos and news articles, Daily Mail articles, and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, but I have a feeling if there is an arrest to be made eventually, then this should at least make local news coverage. Yeah. And just from the standpoint of being a family law attorney for many years, I just want to add that murder should never be the answer. I mean, obviously the people out there watching this, I mean, I would like to hope that we are all law-abiding people, that we know better, and we would not resort to just killing people to solve our problems. But in this case, it seems kind of weird. I feel like it probably was some sort of like crime of passion where maybe the spouse flipped and just, decided to strike at her or to strangle her or something, because I mean, they didn't even have children to fight over, and it didn't even sound like they had money to fight over too. So, why couldn't they just get divorced? Why couldn't they just separate from each other, have a cooling down period, let her go back to Turkey or Iraq or wherever she wanted to be, because she seemingly had no family around here. So it's only him with all his family and friends around here. And she's a complete stranger to the area when she came here last year. So I do feel sorry for her that she was probably very stressed out and isolated and probably feeling demoralized too, because she was a chemical engineer or a very studious, well-educated person in her country, but then she comes here and she winds up having to work at Walmart. So it just seems really awful. It's like, why why did this have to happen if, and I'm saying if the husband did have something to do with her death, that, you know, even as, who was it? Lacey Peterson's mother was screaming to Scott Peterson, divorce is always an option. Murder never is. So it just seemed really crazy, because in some situations you can kind of think, okay, if they were fighting over children, there was a lot of money at stake, and that caused a man to flip out or whatever, like people are motivated usually because of worries that their kids are going to be taken away, or the money's all going to be gone and the other horrible spouse is going to take it all. But in this case, I mean, it seemed like they were broke. Like he's working at Home Depot part-time. She's got 2 part-time jobs. One's working at Walmart. And I mean, they had no children to fight over. So why couldn't they just separate? Of course, that's a rational question. And that's why I feel like this was probably like a very irrational, not well thought out situation, potentially. And I do realize I'm just totally giving my conjecture, since we don't know what exactly happened, and the authorities are being very tight-lipped about details like the method of the homicide or any further details, who their suspects might be. So I can respect them, but I'm sure they're doing lots of work behind the scenes to figure out what exactly happened to Hadeel. Okay, thank you, Bonnie Lee. Yeah, well said, Judy. Murder isn't something that would even enter the rational brain. Yeah, thanks, Bonnie. Remember to like and hit the bell. Yeah, thanks, guys. Okay. Oh, thank you. I tune into your lives and videos all the time. Thanks for the hard work, Judy. Great information. Really appreciate it. You also have good comedic timing to break up the dark. Yeah, thank you. I mean, I did get a few more negative comments from people who just really hate the comedy and they think it's totally inappropriate. But I mean, I explained it at my last live stream, as well as responses to comments in the past, that I'm totally not making fun of the murder victims. I'm totally not making fun of Dan Markel or what happened to him. And even with the very first comedic video / sort of mock live stream show, I did run it by Dan's mother just to see, how she felt about it. And she did, give me some feedback. So that's why, if you really watched it, the whole thing, which I'm sure most people did not watch, but there's some like weird editing snippets where it seems like some of the volume got cut out or something. Well, that's because I had to edit out some of the jokes that she didn't think were really in good taste. So, I mean, I'm just trying to do something good out there. I know people are saying that my production stink. I don't seem professional. I have a terrible voice. They're thinking that what I'm doing is totally unprofessional and not fitting of someone who's an officer of the court. Well, I don't think I want to keep explaining myself over and over again, because I think those people probably have unsubscribed, or maybe they weren't even subscribers to begin with anyway. So why waste time on those types of people who don't even want to watch and don't support the channel, but they would love to just jump in, say something nasty or rude, and then just run off. So yeah, so it's really about drawing attention to the victims of crime, making sure that these cases aren't forgotten. And also, I do feel like, there's really a limit to what we have to talk about, especially with the Markel case, because if there's no court hearing coming up, there's no new papers being filed. The trial for Charlie doesn't even start until October 23rd with the jury selection. So what are we going to do until then? Might as well make fun of the people that we think are involved with Dan's murder, come up with something that's sort of creative or entertaining to try to keep the case in people's consciousness. So that's why I'm doing this. It's not because I want to, just make fun of people for the heck of it, or, get all these people all riled up and offended. Another thing I want to add, obviously, is that I'm not a judge or somebody who's in a leadership position like president of a bar association or law professor or whatever. So if I want to do something goofy and make myself look silly on YouTube, then so be it. I mean, a lot of people did comment and say that they really, laughed their butts off. They loved it. They thought it was hilarious. They watched it over and over again. I mean, I would say the positive comments are probably like 99%, whereas it's maybe 1% negative comments where people are really triggered by that kind of stuff. So let me remove this. I think I've showed that. Let's go ahead and show the Chatham County Sheriff's phone number again, just in case anybody happens to watch this and knows anything more about Omar Drabick, who is the victim's husband, or what might have happened around Lake Jordan in late August. Okay, just scrolling through here. Yeah, thank you guys. Really appreciate your support here. Yeah, thumbs down on the negative commenters. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like, I mean, especially with one of the comments where the person just said, this is like totally inappropriate and you're an officer of the court. You should know better. You shouldn't be doing this type of stuff. I'm like, well, how many times do I have to give people warnings? Because on the thumbnail, it already says something like comedic countdown, comedy and music. And then even in the description, it says this is supposed to be comedy, this is satirical. If you liked shows such as Mad TV, Saturday Night Live, Carol Burnett Show, In Living Color, then you might enjoy this, but this is not for sensitive viewers who might be easily offended. And then I put another disclaimer when the video first started that this is not for sensitive viewers, So I'm just thinking like, is this a type of person that likes to, go on to any sort of like comedy channel or go to a comedy club and go there with some sourpuss face, talking trash and saying they're mad and you shouldn't be laughing at this. And, how dare you guys be here laughing about stuff. So, okay, I think your rendition of Donovan came. Okay, thank you very much. It definitely took a lot of time to come up with everything, come up with the jokes, the dialogue, the props, the music, practicing the crappy songs I sang. I mean, in a way, I am entertaining myself. It's kind of fun to be able to show a different side of myself and get creative, but at the same time, also bring attention to these cases that I care about. Yeah, thank you so much, Bonnie. Thanks. Ignore the negative comments. I know it's easy to say, but anyone can be an internet troll. The downfall didn't. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it could just be somebody that really enjoys going on to different people's channels and saying mean things. Like somebody even went on to True Lifestyle's channel and told her hairstyle looked bad and she could do better. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Her hair looks fine. I can't believe somebody would just have no life to go on someone's channel and tell them that their hair looked bad. So it makes you wonder what kind of person that is in real life. Yeah, they can lie, we can cry. You're more than just an officer of the court. Comedy shows you're well-rounded. It's a good way to get your message, SBU, Judy. Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate that. Yeah, hi, Moonchild. Thank you for being here. I think we're going to be winding things down, though, because I've basically said all the info I have about the Hadeel Hikmat murder mystery. Yeah, thank you. Hopefully the state will answer Sigfredo's filing in 60 days and the judge will deny him a hearing. Yeah, well, the judge might still just humor him and say, okay, you can have a hearing, whatever, and then his motion can still be denied. So, yeah, that's what I wanted Mentor Lawyer to talk about. And I did ask him, but I know he was on vacation last week. I asked him, what do you think about this order where the court is saying the state has 60 days to file something if they want to argue why Sigfredo should not get a hearing. I kind of think that the court would probably err on the side of saying he does have the right to at least have a hearing where he can vent all he wants and then he'll be shipped back to prison. Yeah, but I don't know since I'm not familiar with Florida criminal procedural rules. Yeah, people look for stuff to complain about. Isn't that true? Especially when they're not the ones putting themselves out there on YouTube. Like it's easy to just sit there and, say bad things about strangers when you're hiding behind a computer. Yeah, clearly a very intelligent and compassionate person. Judy, thank you for all your effort. Love your channel. Thank you, Mary. I really appreciate that. Thanks so much. Yeah, it's always nice to hear positive comments and know that there's some nice thinking, rational people who just, like we're all for the same things. We want to help the Markel family. We want to help these victims whose families love them and need to have more attention brought to certain cases that might not be getting national attention. Okay, that killed me when you said live at Saturday Night. Yeah, I always watched Saturday Night Live, especially back in the late 80s during the heydays when I think I was like in junior high then. Yeah, when had a lot of free time to watch Saturday Night Live. So I loved it. And my friends and I would repeat lines from Saturday Night Live. So it's kind of fun to make something that's sort of related to this YouTube channel that has to do with Saturday Night Live and those types of comedy shows. Yeah, they're jelly. Okay. I'm tracking Catherine and Sigfredo. I got a notification that they moved Sigfredo to another facility. Not sure. Oh, yeah. Maybe I did see your message because I do recall somebody saying that Sigfredo got moved to another prison. Yeah, and maybe it was also, was it 5 or Angela who also said something about that. And I have no idea why they might have moved Sigfredo to a different place. Yeah, who knows? Maybe the other place has better air conditioning, or they have the ability to give him his kosher meals or something, or maybe there's some inmate that he couldn't be around that was going to be transferred to one facility, so they had to scoot him to some other place. So yeah, who knows? That was another question that I would ask Mentor Lawyer. So hopefully he'll do another live stream soon where he will answer all sorts of random questions. Oh, it didn't stay at the facility. Okay, yeah. So we'll have to look into it. I mean, James and I are supposed to be doing another joint video or joint live stream show or something, but we haven't really figured out all the details. And I was thinking about doing some videos or live streams just going over Sigfredo's motion for post-conviction relief. And James didn't think anybody would be interested in that. But again, I'm kind of like grasping at straws, trying to figure out, well, what else can I do before Charlie's trial starts? So, depending on time, maybe I will still do some sort of video or live stream focusing on his terrible, what would we call it? Terrible, horrible, no good, very bad motion brief that Sigfredo wrote pro se. So, yeah, maybe he's talking, I don't know, because he didn't get moved up to Leon County. So, yeah, I mean, from what I remember somebody saying, it seemed like it was some other prison that's somewhere in Central Florida. So if you were really talking, if he's going to be a witness for the state, then I would just assume they would be moving him to the Leon County jail. So I don't know. I mean, it would be great. Wouldn't that be nice? I mean, I was pretty optimistic when I heard that Katie was going to become a state witness and that she was making proffers, but now it just doesn't seem like her proffers were any good, since the state didn't mention anything about possibly having a hearing for her resentencing. So sounds like Katie's not going to be of any use. And after all these years, I'd be really surprised if Sigfredo suddenly decided to talk, because his brain is probably so fried he probably can't remember anything that happened back in 2014 anyway. Yeah, he would have more credibility. Yeah, that's true. I mean, he has nothing to lose at this point because he's already been sentenced to life in prison. So who knows if they would even give him anything slightly better as a result of him testifying at this very, very late hour. Yeah, I would love to hear what he has to say, though, or if he even remembers anything. Yeah, love your comedy video. It's really okay. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about more comedy, but definitely hearing some of those really rude, obnoxious comments is a big downer also. It's like, okay, well, I do realize that, yes, potentially my opposing counsel or my clients could potentially be seeing these videos that I make too. But I mean, this channel is not really to market my law practice anyway. So who is one person to say that just because your profession in real life is this, then you can't sing, you can't, tell jokes, you can't do something totally different from your profession. It's crazy. I mean, I'm sure throughout YouTube, there are tons of people who are also really lawyers in real life or teachers or, professors, doctors or whatever, but their channel has nothing to do with their jobs, and they should be able to feel free as long as they're not representing their employer or in some sort of leadership position. Who's to say that you can't do this on YouTube because it offends me? Yeah. Rivera was moved to Marianna, Florida for Charlie's trial. Oh, okay. So you think it was because of Charlie's trial, or did it just happen for some other random reason? Okay, well, that would be great if you have some extra information about that. The message just said another facility. I think he may finally realize that it's his only option for any kind of relief. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, maybe that message from Baya Harrison finally got to him, that he had the keys to his freedom and he threw it away to protect those people down in South Florida. Yeah, maybe Lewis can see his family more being in Florida. I believe he was in Arizona before. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because he is supposed to be transferred to Florida in general to serve out the rest of his sentence. Yeah, and I remember reading somewhere that he has 5 children, but it sounds like the first 2 or 3 older children aren't his biological kids, but they were the children of the woman that he had a long-term relationship with. So, yeah, so maybe in terms of biological kids, he might have like 2 or 3 kids. Not sure how old they are. Oh, although remember with Jessica, that woman who testified at the trial, he had a baby girl who had a heart problem or some sort of big health problem as a baby. So I guess that child was born around the time that Dan was killed. So that daughter must be 9 years old now. Yeah. So yeah, who knows what kind of relationship he has with those children now. Okay, could Sigfredo verify what Catherine states? Yeah, I mean, he definitely could. Yeah. If he remembers, that's a big if. Yeah. How can we believe anything he says after all these years? We all had our hopes up when Katie was willing to talk, but again, who can believe her without hard proof? She's a waste. Yeah, I mean, that's what not hearing anything else about Katie at that last case management hearing, it does make me think that the state listened to what she had to say and then realized that she really had nothing of additional value, and that the negative aspect of having Katie testify versus the positive aspect, it wasn't worth it. So I'm just guessing again, but just based on the timing of everything, the fact that they didn't mention anything about resentencing Katie or giving her a deal or anything makes me think that the state is not going to be using Katie. Both Catherine and Sigfredo could say that Charlie was threatening the kids. So now they can talk. Yeah. I mean, they could say that, but again, definitely having some other proof corroborating some of the things that they would potentially say would really be key, because, clearly their credibility would be at stake and something that the defense could jump all over. Okay, hoping Sigfredo has some. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, who knows? I mean, I doubt that Sigfredo has anything to say now, but, wait and see, because the witness lists are supposed to be out September 22nd. So we'll see if Sigfredo shows up potentially as a witness for the state. Wouldn't that be amazing? Yeah. I think Georgia has some interesting evidence in her back pocket that will make Wendy sweat. Donna has to be next. Yeah, exactly, because Wendy did seem kind of like disturbed or caught off guard when Kappelman showed her some of the text or WhatsApp, or I can't really remember, but definitely whatever we saw that might have been relevant at Katie's trial, there could definitely be plenty of other evidence that would be more relevant against Charlie or against some of the other people in the family. Yeah. Okay, Wendy. Okay, yeah, I think Donna would probably be more likely to be next, and I sure hope she gets arrested as soon as Charlie is convicted. Yeah, John Singer said on Surviving the Survivor that she would hurt Charlie's case, and the defense would have a field day if they used her as a witness. Yeah, that's true, but it really depended on what did Katie say, and was there any sort of other evidence out there that could also bolster her credibility or corroborate what she had to say. Because a long time ago, I think it was last year, Surviving the Survivor had an interview with Monica Jordan. She was an investigator, I think, who worked for the state. And that's definitely worth listening to again. Because I think she might have been the person in charge of trying to, do all this background sleuthing on all the things that Luis Rivera had said during his proffer. So she had to be the one to back up things, figure out, was it true that Sigfredo had shot a hole in the car? They had to go track down the rental car and confirm, like, hey, he's not lying about that, because there was indeed a hole shot in that Prius, or all these other things in the background where it can definitely help bolster what the witness is saying, because otherwise any witness could just go in there, lie their heads off just because they want to save themselves. So, yeah. So, I mean, I agree that, sure, defense would have a field day, but if there's anything to back up what she had to say. But in a way, I kind of feel like that's kind of, it's not anything to really get people riled up over, because she probably isn't going to be used after all. Yeah. But I could be surprised, just guessing. Okay, a month or so more ago, the state sent an order to Arizona jail to have Rivera moved to Mariana to be close to Tally to testify at Charlie's trial. Oh, okay. Well, I guess they have to make sure that Sigfredo and Luis are not housed anywhere close to each other, though, since Luis basically turned against him and testified against him. Yeah. Okay. So, well, it's been almost an hour. We're talking about our favorite case, right? I mean, it seems like most people are just so interested in the Dan Markel case, but I wanted to draw some attention to Hadeel Hikmat's case also, and hope you guys will feel free to read up on that. What little news there is out there is just basically some local news that has been covering her mysterious death. And you can see some video here from her brother's Facebook page here about the investigation, which is still going on. So hopefully I'll have some better news to report in the future if there is an arrest made or some sort of conviction. WhatsApp was listed as evidence against Charlie, right? I didn't see it listed. Oh, okay. Well, they haven't even had to produce the evidence list or the exhibit list or the witness list in Charlie's case. So that's not due until September 22nd. Yeah. So I don't recall. Yeah. I mean, that exhibit list and witness list that I saw for, I think it was for Katie's trial. Or Katie and Sigfredo. Yeah, it was just such a long document. I don't remember all the details there. Yeah, but the stuff for Charlie hasn't been revealed yet. And when it does, most likely Mentor Lawyer and I will do some sort of joint live stream show about that. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry to always be bringing depressing news. That's another reason why I like doing some funny, silly comedy type stuff too, because it's just too depressing to always talk about, people being killed and, this person dying and, these shootings happening. And yeah, we don't need too much depressing news and make us lose our faith in humanity. Yeah. Oh, okay, it was on another filing? Okay, well, that's interesting. Okay, because I don't recall seeing, like, evidence against Charlie being listed in any sort of filing recently. Yeah. Oh, so maybe it was in the arrest affidavit from a long time ago, right? Yeah, they did mention WhatsApp somewhere. Yeah. Oh, or there was also some filing, was it last year? Yeah, I think they did mention something about WhatsApp in passing. Yeah. Okay, yeah, definitely justice for Hadeel Hikmat also. Yeah, thank you guys for caring. Thanks for being here tonight. So I'll try to find some other topic to talk about. I think we're going to cover something tangentially related to the Markel case next week. Yeah, that's right. Now I do recall what you're talking about. There was some sort of motion or filing from within the last year where they did mention WhatsApp messages. Yeah. Oh, or the arrest affidavit. Yeah, definitely mentioned there. So, okay. Well, you guys, thank you all for supporting this channel and joining in on a Sunday evening. Hope you have a great week, and I'll see you guys at the next live stream show. Thank you again.